The history of the Roman Empire holds countless unique fates, yet few are as extraordinary as the journey of the man who dared to ascend the imperial throne without senatorial lineage or aristocratic connections. This man, Macrinus, became the first Roman emperor to be proclaimed from the equestrian order, an event unprecedented in the annals of Roman history. His reign, though fleeting, was perceived more as a brief but decisive transitional period between the powerful branches of the Severan dynasty, foreshadowing both new opportunities and inevitable challenges. How did a provincial without a noble name manage to reach such an incredible height, and what awaited him at the pinnacle of imperial power? Marcus Opellius Macrinus was born around 165 AD in Caesarea Mauritania, belonging to an equestrian family with roots in the Mauritanian lands. Although the prominent historian Cassius Dio spoke somewhat disparagingly of his parents as most obscure, the facts suggest otherwise. They likely belonged to the local elite of Caesarea, as this is what allowed young Macrinus to receive an excellent education, opening doors to the world of Roman jurisprudence. It was in Rome, a hotbed of ambition and intrigue, that he began to build his career, demonstrating an exceptional intellect and profound knowledge of the law. A pivotal moment arrived when Macrinus, showcasing his oratorical and legal talents, successfully defended a friend in court. This episode attracted the attention of Plautianus, an influential and longtime associate of Emperor Septimius Severus, whose daughter had by then become the wife of the future Emperor Caracalla. Macrinus gained a powerful patron, but the world of Roman politics was fraught with danger. In 205 AD, Plautianus himself fell victim to palace intrigues orchestrated by the cunning Julia Domna and her son Caracalla, and was executed right in the imperial palace. It seemed such a connection should have doomed Macrinus as well, but thanks to the timely intercession of a loyal friend, he miraculously avoided his patron's fate. Septimius Severus, recognizing his abilities, appointed him superintendent of road traffic on the strategically important Flaminian Way. Years later, Caracalla, perhaps remembering his past merits or needing trusted personnel, first made him a procurator, and then, the pinnacle of his civilian career, promoted him to praetorian prefect, one of the most powerful positions in the empire. This last promotion was likely possible after the fall of the previous prefect, Oppianus, who was killed in 212 AD during a ruthless purge of Geta's supporters, Caracalla's brother, whose elimination cleared the path for Caracalla's sole rule. Cassius Dio, observing the events of those years, noted that Macrinus discharged the duties of this office in the most satisfactory and just manner, insofar as he was permitted to follow his own judgment. These words, full of subtle implications, hint at the complex and dangerous game Macrinus had to play, balancing loyalty to duty with the demands of a despotic emperor. But it was this very position that would ultimately elevate him to the highest seat of power, a path he could not have imagined. In 216 AD, Emperor Caracalla launched a large-scale military campaign against the Parthian Empire. Initially, Parthian forces were compelled to strategically retreat and regroup, while Roman legions under Caracalla relentlessly ravaged their lands. Roman troops spent the winter of 216 to 217 in Edessa. A tragic turn of events occurred on April 8, 217 AD, when the imperial retinue was en route to the ancient city of Carrhae. As Caracalla stopped by the road to relieve himself, he fell victim to assassination. Behind this meticulously planned conspiracy was the praetorian prefect Macrinus. He skillfully enlisted several soldiers driven by deep personal animosity towards the emperor. The direct perpetrator of the fatal blow was Julius Martialis, who, as historian Dio testifies, harbored strong resentment towards Caracalla for the emperor's refusal to promote him to centurion. Caracalla's death left the Roman Empire without a direct heir, as the emperor had no son. In the ensuing power vacuum, the throne was offered to Macrinus's colleague in the praetorian prefecture, a certain Adventus. However, citing his advanced age, Adventus deemed himself unsuitable for such a responsible and burdensome position, and thus declined the offer. Macrinus, demonstrating strategic calculation, waited several days before officially proclaiming himself the new emperor. Following established tradition, he initially feigned reluctance to accept such a high burden, but ultimately yielded to circumstances on April 11, a symbolic date coinciding with the birthday of his predecessor, Septimius Severus, thereby ascending to the Roman throne. A contemporary of those events, the historian Cassius Dio, meticulously describes how the Roman troops enjoyed unprecedented luxury during the winter months of 216 and 217. As a result, their morale was undermined, and they had no desire whatsoever to continue the arduous war against Parthia. Macrinus, aware of this, quickly won their loyalty by making a firm promise to end the protracted conflict. Following these dramatic events, Macrinus dispatched a message to the Roman Senate, informing them in detail of what had transpired. The renowned historian Cassius Dio conveys the content of this dispatch, where Macrinus reportedly wrote, "I well understand that you also agreed with the legions, because I was conscious that I had brought much benefit to the state." In this letter, he boldly signed himself as Caesar, Imperator, and Severus, additionally adopting the titles of Pius, Felix, Augustus, and Consul alongside his name Macrinus. He did not, however, await any senatorial vote, which would certainly have been appropriate and in accordance with established procedures. Evidently, he sent this letter fully aware of his responsibility for unilaterally assuming so many high honorary titles. Cassius Dio, continuing his narrative, indicates that the senators had no time to consider Macrinus's humble origin, and they were content to accept him as emperor. Surprisingly, the Roman Senate, despite being completely ignored in the process of elevating the new emperor to the throne, was filled with joy. According to Herodian's testimony, their jubilation was caused not so much by Macrinus's accession, but by their own deliverance from Caracalla. Soon thereafter, Macrinus's young son, Diadumenian, was formally proclaimed Caesar by the legions, and his name was changed to Antoninus, the same name by which the former emperor Caracalla was widely known. This decision caused noticeable apprehension among the people of Rome, but, conversely, delighted the soldiers, who had always deeply cherished that name. In 218 AD, Macrinus was appointed to the position of consul, with his former colleague from the Praetorian prefecture serving as his co-consul. This appointment caused palpable concern in Roman circles, as this man's origins were even more humble than Macrinus's own. The renowned historian Dio Cassius, commenting